Hello and welcome, this is Rooflemonger, and it's time for our very first tips and tricks guide for Dragon Ball FighterZ, and in this we'll be discussing Android 21. So as always in these sorts of guides, I'll be discussing the characters' move lists in general, some properties they have, and their general game plan. So without any further ado, let's get to it. So first up, let's go through her special and super move list here. So the first thing I want to talk about here is her flying knee move. That is quarter circle back and then attack button. So the heavy attack is always an EX version. Now one thing about this here, you mostly are going to see this in combos because it is, generally whatever combo you will go into this as your ender, and then you will go into whatever super, DHC, or whatever have you. So one thing to note here is it actually has some value just being done raw. So this move is also grounded, so you can do it in the ground or air. And one thing about it is it's just eminently safe on block. We don't have access to the hard numbers right now, but you're only negative like maybe 2 frames at most. You basically don't have much to worry if this gets blocked. And since, it comes in at a very aggressive angle here, especially in the air and all that, you can kind of use this as a bit of a substitute for a homing dash. Like, you won't get the full combo to be sure like a homing dash, but the fact that you can just work it like that and say, well, we'll just turn off our block right now. There we go, sorry about that. So, say we get a hit, right? You can go, oh, I got my hit, I can just convert into raw super. And since, it's not the biggest damage in the world, don't get me wrong, like, this isn't the only thing you should be fishing for, but it's always an option on the table. It's just another way in, it's much quicker than a homing dash if, say, you're just not sure how to approach. Now, another thing to note here is the move has, for lack of a better term, splash damage. So the grounded explosion here, as here, has a hitbox. So the move will not do its full damage if it hits this way, but it's just a little note to keep in mind. It's a very versatile move that, has more uses than just the obvious I end the combo with it and go into super. Now that said, also the EX version, now on top of doing more damage like most EXs tend to do, it also causes a bit of a spin out, as you can see here, that the light version and the the medium version, sorry, do not do. So what happens here is we can actually get a combo conversion off that. And we can just kind of do whatever. I haven't optimized the combo for that specifically, but you get the idea. So this seems to be corner only, because if you are mid-screen, it's seemingly difficult to get any sort of real follow-up off that. Like, you can't get a homing dash either because you won't have enough time. But in the corner, a raw EX dive, you will be able to convert off it and get a combo. So overall, it's a pretty decent move. And just remember, it has some use outside just being combo filler. Now, next up, let's talk about her fireball. It's a fairly generic fireball. It just goes forward on one of the attack buttons here. The light punch version just goes across the screen. The medium punch version here is a bit of an anti-air flavor, and EX is across the screen and much quicker. Now, the EX, if you are not aware, it has a bit of a mechanic tied to it. And let me just turn on our information so we can see the damage. So, this is the light punch version. This is EX, and you see it does the exact same damage. Now, what it does here, and we'll go into character settings. So say we had one of her absorbs in. So we have a Kamehameha absorb. And I do have a whole guide about the whole absorb mechanic, so check that at the end of the video. You'll find a link to it. But now say we do the same EX fireball move here. So now we're going to EX it. And now you saw fireball got a bit bigger here, and now the damage has gone up fairly drastically. So what happens here is however many absorbs you have, it will eat them all up and power up the orb. So this is with 1 absorb. Now say, let's just go crazy, we're just going to go all 4 now. So with 4 absorbs, now you can see that's just absurd. It just gets huge. And if you see the damage here, it's actually much more than most level 1 supers at this point. And you're not reacting to this move. It is way too fast and too big to be able to react to that on sight. So if you are willing to burn all your moves, because these are moves, they're pretty handy to have. Like, you don't necessarily want to just get rid of them, but if you are willing to burn them, this is a massive threat from full screen that people just gotta deal with. Now, I will skip absorb for one moment here. I'm going to actually talk about it in a little more depth in a moment, but first let's just talk about her supers. So she only has a single level 1 super, and that's this guy right here. So it does fairly average damage as far as level 1 is concerned. Now, one of the values of it here is it's basically covers the whole screen. Now, the explosions will start this is assuming player one side. It will start from the left going to the right. It doesn't explode all at once, so keep that in mind. But it's generally a pretty decent screen filling move. As a combo ender, it's perfectly fine to do your tag supers and all that. Hits up fairly high, so you don't have to worry about people being too high up in the air while you're tagging out. Now, one thing in mind, so this is an Aero K super, but keep in mind here, she always goes to the same fixed spot on the ground. So if you're trying to get people in the air with it, you are going to drop your combo because she's going to go all the way back down to the ground and you're going to mess things up. So keep in mind, just watch out for that. Now, if you're trying to just like, just regular old combo and you spike them down into the hard knockdown, then you go that, then she'll be on the ground waiting for the enemy. So that's one thing. But just keep in mind, if you're doing raw in the air, she's always going to go to the same fixed point on the ground. Now, Android 21 is fortunate enough to have 2 level 3s, not just 1. So she has an aerial one, so let's talk about that first here. So the aerial one is the more damaging of the 2. And see here, she does a bit of a maximum spider. That's a call out for the Marvel vs. Capcom fans out there. Into a giant energy explosion, does well over 4,000 damage. So very damaging. Now one thing here, just quickly, it kind of just is what it is. There's no tips, extenuating uses other than doing raw, except for this one thing I want to mention here. Now, if you are already familiar with the concept of Tiger Knee, you can Tiger Knee the move. Because it is air only and it works exactly that way. So it looks a little like something like this.
I'm sorry?
Well, let's try it one more time here. There we go. So, if you're not familiar with the concept of Tiger Knee, you might wonder, how did I do that right on the ground? Well, the thing is, I didn't do it on the ground. So here, let's turn on our notations here. So you can see command history. So I'm just going to clear that out here. There we go. So what I'm doing here is I'm doing the motion, which is just, quarter circle back. And then I'm going to hit up back. So I'm going to be airborne. And as I'm airborne, it still keeps the quarter circle back in the memory. And they'll count as a move. So that lets you do airborne moves. Basically, a couple pixels off the ground. Now you do got to watch out. If you do it a little too quick right there, see, I'm going to get the ground to level 3. But there we go. Perfect example. So I did that like a pixel off the ground, and you can get the more damaging level 3 on these 2. Now, that's not to say just because it does more damage it's better, but just so you know. Now, her second level 3 is a grounded one, and it's the Candy Beam. So she borrows this from Majin Buu. So she takes a nice little bite out of you and does her damage. Now, there's 2 quick notes here. One more important than the other, but the first one is it is a ranged move. So, not the fastest projectile by any stretch, but it can reach from full screen, just so you know. Now, the other thing here is we're going to switch over to Beerus for 1 split second here. Let's do a little bit of damage. There we go. So now, what I'm going to do is Candy Beam again, and look at my blue health.
I wonder what you taste like.
And see here, I just regained some of my health back. It's not a significant portion of health, but it is some health. So it will basically put you just above the normal health cap, and regaining any amount of health is definitely a big deal, especially when you're the active participant, because you need all the health you can get. So keep in mind, because it does do less damage in the aerial version, and for most cases you can easily get the aerial version in most combos, but this is just a way to show it has some value, as it will regenerate your health. Now, to talk about Absorb. So, I did make a video just detailing all the varying versions of everything she gets from all the people she gets it from, but just to talk about the base move here, right here. The actual move itself. So, she'll hit you, and when she hits you, she'll steal a move. And each of the 4 versions, because there's 2 grounded and 2 aerial versions, grab a different move. The quarter circle forward motions always grab the same move, so aerial or not, and the quarter circle backs always grab a different move, aerial or not. Now, one thing here, and this is one thing people don't seem to be aware of. So let's set our enemy here. Set them guard all. So he's blocking everything, my highs, my lows, and all that. So the Absorb is a command grab, and I don't think many people are aware of that yet. So there's no blocking this. It's like 16 also has like Zangief style pile driver moves. This is that style of move. You have to. The only way to stop it is to hit her out of it, or jump, or just not be there. There is no blocking this move. Now, effectively, this only, when we're both on the ground here, this only applies to the quarter circle forward version of the move, as the quarter circle back version is a leaping version, so ain't gonna hit a ground foe, and the other ones are aerial versions, so not gonna grab a foe no matter really what you do. But that makes this one basically on paper, just in neutral and general gameplay, the greatest threat. So then, you know, you might think of it this way: of you gotta really pay attention to who you're fighting, but this is going to be the one you're going to most likely to get absorbed in a real, like, you know, live fire match. So think about who you're playing and what moves they'll give you. So like against Beerus here, we get the homing ball. So, you know, basic gameplay would be like, I can do this, vanish out. And here, let me take off block. So do this, vanish out, hits in, and then, you know, we can get like whatever afterwards. Just create pressure in situations like normally, you know, the character cannot create pressure in. And now, one thing to talk about here, and let me switch up my team 1 second here, just so I can get the most optimal absorbs. So now that we've changed up the team a little bit here, what I'm going to do is show you how all these things can interact together, because there's a special property involved to play here. So what we're going to do here is we're going to steal the instant transmission from Beerus, as he's part of the alien group. So there we go, we have both our versions of instant transmission taken. And now we're going to tag in our friend Goku.
Now it's mine.
We're going to take from him Kamehameha on the ground in the air. There we go. So now we have Kamehameha, and we have instant transmission. So these come from 2 separate character groups. You cannot get both of these from the same character. But this is what makes the synergy at play so strong, is exactly this. So you are allowed to cancel one into the other. The backwards absorb into the forward absorb move. So let's show you something here. So I'm going to instant transmission into Kamehameha. And now I can Kamehameha into an instant transmission.
This strong.
So, Kamehameha, instant transmission. Now let's go a little crazier. So there you go. That was Kamehameha, instant transmission into a Kamehameha very quickly. So any of these combination, you can always do the quarter circle backwards move into the quarter circle forwards move, and they can cancel into each other, kind of add infinitum. Now there's no infinite combo, so don't think of it that way. But there is some combos here, like specifically in the corner, where I could loop Kamehamehas and get several loops in a row, and it is more damaging than a regular combo, than her normal B&B combo structure. But you just got to be aware of the team you're fighting and go from there. Now, on that note, so let's just example here. I'm going to purposely steal 2 different moves in the same combo. So let's say I definitely want the energy barrage from Vegeta, just to have. It's a decent move by itself, and I see Beerus is on the other team, so I want to be able to get to him and steal teleport from him. So now what I'm going to do here, just an example combo, I'm going to get what I want out of Vegeta and bring Beerus in. Alright, so goodbye Vegeta. I got what I wanted out of Vegeta, and now Beerus is in, so I can be looking to steal his next move. So that's just kind of the thought process behind it. And if you watch the combo video, you can get multiple absorbers in one combo as well. I have an example of that. But just be thinking about, your general game plan. And now, speaking of general game plan, let's get to it. So, getting certain absorb moves, that's, it's kind of wish fulfillment territory. You will have it happen in a match, absolutely, to be sure. But let's just talk about what she has by herself, because, it's still very, very good. Now, just to talk about her general game plan, the things I want to talk about here are not immediately, obviously, but the first one, let's just go with the big one. That's her stand medium. So her stand medium is absurd. That's the only way I got to really describe it. So the range of this, like, you see how far away that hits from? So from here, it just barely misses. Now we're going to move 1 pixel forward. It's going to connect. So that's the range of this move. So a lot of people, they're not going to be able to hang with that at this range. So, and the fact that, she has her sweep, which, also goes far. And keep in mind, too, but quick note about the sweep. If you hold down and forward, you'll get a far range version, which, can combo into her blast, which we'll talk about in a minute, too. Into, whole sorts of stuff, and from even full screen, which is in the combo video. But this is such a great bully tool. And the fact that, if it hits at all, it's a guaranteed conversion to like whatever combo you have. It's just really good to bully people with, and they can't contest at that range. Like the very few people that can contest that range will be like Nap or something, and that's with his heavy attack. And her heavy attack's also no slouch. It's got quite a bit of range as well, as you can see here. Maybe not as good as Nappa's, but just the fact here, you can just do this. If it hits, great, you get a full combo. If not, well, oh well, you can keep pressure up in all manner of ways. And now let's talk about that pressure. So besides just, you know, that kind of stuff here, her basic ki blasts are amazing. Like, I know on paper a lot of people aren't liking basic ki blasts, like, whoa, you can just homing dash through them. You know? Like, yes, you can, sure, but homing dashes, you know, one of the reasons you do a basic ki blast is, like, you do it, you frustrate the opponent, and like, oh, we're going to homing dash in. From full screen, a homing dash is just dead to rights, and you can just crouch fierce them easily. And by the way, her crouch fierce also has got some good range. But on that basic ki blast note, so her basic ki blast, her standing one, as you see, very quick. And damage-wise, let's just turn on our damage values here. 600, so it's not too bad. Very good for frustrating the opponent, and now she also has her aerial version, as it launches 3 projectiles. And if all hit 3 hit, you see here it's 1,000 damage. So that's nothing to sneeze at all. She always jumps forward a little bit, so just keep that in mind. There's always a bit of forward momentum when she tosses them. And you see here, it just covers a really good arc. Like, it's hard to not get hit by at least one of those. And if you hit crouching ki blast, it's actually different than her standing one here, and she will jump backwards. Now, this is actually really good for making certain things safe on block, so let's turn on enemy settings, go back to guard here. So, standing heavy is basically universally punishable on block. However, say we have our standing heavy blocked, we can just go and do our crouching ki blast, and, you know, gain a little bit of space. Now, actually, while we have the note of blocking, talking about that, so we didn't go over how the basic quarter circle forward absorb is a command grab. So you can also tick grab into it, as you see here. So I am ascertaining the enemy is blocking my moves. I can just go right into this. And now it's on them to get the heck out of dodge before this connects with them, and just, you know, we can go crazy on them. So it's just really good. Like, her, just overall, her pressure is really good. Like, even, like, you know, when you're blocking, you're not safe. You got to be really on the ball to avoid this kind of stuff. And no, she can just toss out pressure, just all sorts of stuff. Because if they think, say they know in their heart of hearts, oh, this is where he does crouching ki blast to get away from me, so I'm going to homing dash to follow through with him, then he'd be like, you know, no, I went for command grab, your homing dash just got beat out by that. So just keep it in mind. There's just a lot of great neutral tools. In more Street Fighter parlance, we would call her a neutral / footsies based character, because she really wants to fight at the range of this. Like, and you know, she has a crouch low. Not everyone has a crouching light low, so that's something to be sure. But this is a range where she gets to fight at that a lot of characters can't, while you're both on the ground. So keep it in mind. It's just really, really, really good. And that concludes our video for today. I hope you found something, you know, interesting about the character. I think she's a blast to play, and stuff with the absorb, like, it'll take some time before, you know, we get really optimal with that kind of stuff, and we find out, like, the true, like, ending every match in weird, like, instant transmission 5 Kamehameha combos. But till then, her basic game plan is good enough, and it's really fun. So thank you very much for watching. I hope this video found you well. Go out and play some Dragon Ball.